Welcome back to House of Cards. Just kidding. This is real life. As for the first time in history, a House Speaker has been voted out with a vote of 216 to 210. Kevin McCumber temporarily takes the Speaker role.
Clause 8B3 of Rule 1, I will now act as Speaker pro tem. The Chair will inform the members of the House the following. The office of the Speaker was rendered vacant pursuant to the adoption of House Resolution 757.
Just days before, though, here's what Kevin McCarthy had to say about Mccarthy coming for him, and then we're going to play what he said afterwards.
He says he's coming for you. Can you survive?
Yes, I'll survive. You know, this is personal with Matt. Matt voted against the most conservative ability to protect our border, secure our border. He's more interested in securing TV interviews than doing something. He wanted to push us into a shutdown, even threatening his own district with all the military people there who would not be paid, only because he wants to take this motion. So be it. Bring it on. Let's get over with it, and let's start governing.
Here's what Mccarthy had to say.
The gentleman from Florida.
My colleague says we've passed the strongest border bills in history. Well, guess what? Look at the border right now. We didn't use sufficient leverage in the debt limit or in any other thing to actually get results on the border. The border is a disaster, really something I don't think you're going to be campaigning on, that you fixed the border. Second, you said you streamlined regulations. What the gentleman from Louisiana doesn't tell you is that all of the regulatory reform he was just bragging about is waivable by the stroke of a pen of someone in the Biden White House. Do you really think you've got anything for that? It's a total joke. And then finally, the welfare to work that the gentleman from Louisiana said we got. The welfare programs that they said that they streamlined with their welfare to work stuff, they're actually going to grow. Because while they did work requirements, they blew out those programs with expanded eligibility. I'm real glad you guys didn't put work requirements on Medicaid. It probably would have resulted in Medicaid expansion. And when it comes to how those raise money, I take no lecture on asking patriotic Americans to weigh in and contribute to this fight from those who would grovel and bend knee for the lobbyists and special interests who own our leadership, who have, oh, boo all you want, who have hollowed out this town and have borrowed against the future of our future generations. I'll be happy to fund my political operation through the work of hardworking Americans, $10 and $20 and $30 at a time, and you all keep showing up at the lobbyist fundraisers and see how that goes for you. I reserve.
Now, of course, Matt is the one who brought this to the floor to remove the Speaker, Kevin McCarthy. And here's what he had to say when asked to whose benefit this was.
To whose benefit? People have called you a narcissist. People say that it's to your benefit alone. Is it to the benefit of you and to Donald Trump?
It's the benefit of this country that we have a better Speaker of the House than Kevin McCarthy. Kevin McCarthy couldn't keep his word. He made an agreement in January regarding the way Washington would work, and he violated that agreement. We are $33 trillion in debt. We are facing $2.2 trillion annual deficits. We face a de-dollarization globally that will crush Americans, working-class Americans. Kevin McCarthy is a feature of the swamp. He has risen to power by collecting special interest money and redistributing that money in exchange for favors. We are breaking the fever now, and we should elect a Speaker who's better.
And of course, when they're talking about Trump, what they're referring to is the Republicans are actually considering electing former President Donald Trump as the Speaker of the House.
I've now heard from a number of people. I know for a fact Donald Trump has been contacted about possibly him being an interim Speaker. Is that a reality?
I don't know. He'd be great, but I want Donald Trump to be the next president of the United States. If he wants to be Speaker,
well,
great.
He's still,
but,
I
want him to be president of the United States.
President. He's still going to be running for president.
Right. That's where we need him, is at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. If he wants to be Speaker, then that's fine, too.
And here is Kevin McCarthy's final speech as the Speaker of the House.
I don't regret standing up for choosing governance over grievance. It is my responsibility. It is my job. I do not regret negotiating. Our government is designed to find compromise. I don't regret my efforts to build coalitions and find solutions. I was raised to solve problems, not create them. So I may have lost a vote today, but as I walk out of this chamber, I feel fortunate to have served the American people. I leave the speakership with a sense of pride, accomplishment, and yes, optimism. From the day I entered politics, my mission has always been to make tomorrow better than today. I fought for what I believe in, and I believe in this country of America. My goals have not changed. My ability to fight is just in a different form. You need 218. Unfortunately, 4% of our conference can join all the Democrats and dictate who can be the Republican Speaker in this House. I don't think that rule is good for the institution, but apparently I'm the only one. I believe I can continue to fight, maybe in a different manner. I will not run for Speaker again. I'll have the conference pick somebody else. I hope you realize that every day I did the job, regardless whether you underestimated me or not, I wanted to do it with a smile.
Now, some people alluded to that the Republicans didn't really have a plan. They just wanted to create chaos. And here's what Vivek had to say about that.
This is going to be controversial, but let's go. Here's what I think everybody should agree on. The point of removing the House Speaker was to sow chaos. That's what the critics of Matt Gaetz and everybody else is saying. And my advice to the people who voted to remove him is own it, admit it. There was no better plan of action of who's going to fill that speaker role. So was the point to sow chaos? Yes, it was. But the real question to ask, let's get to the bottom of it, is whether chaos is really such a bad thing in times such as these. When we live in a moment where we have a border crisis at our southern border, where there are tens of thousands of illegal migrants crossing per week, driving an epidemic of lawlessness across this country, are we sure that that status quo is what we want? Or is a little chaos really such a bad thing? When we have a national debt of $33 trillion and growing under the watch of Republicans and Democrats alike in power, are we sure the status quo is what we want? Or is a little chaos really such a bad thing? When we have a climate cult that shackles the United States and shackles our economy while letting our enemy China roam free, are we really sure that the status quo is what we want? Or is a little chaos such a bad thing? If we're dependent on our enemy for our modern way of life, and we have people who are bought and paid for in Washington, D.C. by special interests and a class of lobbyists and a class of super PAC puppet masters, and we keep marching to our same fate, are we really sure that chaos is such a bad thing? That's the real question. I would rather just everybody smoke that out and debate it in the open. Because do we have a plan to replace the House Speaker? No. But is that the most important question? No, it's not. We don't have a House Speaker. What's the plan to replace the Speaker, everybody asks. Here's what I say. Who cares until we actually have a plan for how to address the deficit in our budget, how to address the $33 trillion in our national debt, how to actually seal our own southern border in this country, how to deal with an epidemic of crime across the United States of America, how to reduce our dependence on an enemy for our modern way of life. That's what I want to plan for. And then we're going to ask the question of who's going to be the best babysitter.
And of course, all of this started because of the government being extended for 45 days, which we are now on the clock for again. But first order of business, nothing can get done until there is a new Speaker of House. And this is Matt Gaetz on why he put this motion.
So, Mr. Speaker, just tell us. Just tell us.
Matt Gaetz.
What was in the secret Ukraine side deal? What commitments were made to President Biden to continue the spending of President Biden in exchange for doing things for President Biden? It is becoming increasingly clear who the Speaker of the House already works for, and it's not the Republican conference. Mr. Speaker, I would ask that these questions be answered soon, because there may be other votes coming today or later this week that could be implicated by the answers to these questions. Members of the Republican Party might vote differently on a motion to vacate if they heard what the Speaker had to share with us about his secret side deal with Joe Biden on Ukraine. I'll be listening. Stay tuned.
Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Who do you think should be the next Speaker of their House? And follow me for more, you savages.
Hustling.